to the 10's. The 10's, they connect to Malchut, which is connects to the earth. And they connect to the third dimension. So this is like what's happening now in the manifest, what you can see, and maybe you can experience with your own five senses, not have to look in your third eye or spirit. And these cards can be shown very literal when they show up. And the timing is now. And I know like timing in tarot is very fluid. So now could be a week and a half, today, tomorrow. Usually other cards might tell you how soon. Like if you had an ace with this, you know, like this might even happen today or tomorrow. So this guy is literally walking to his house. He's leaving somewhere so he can go back to his home. And this is where he'll feel like in his element, more comfortable, and just feel at home, that peace. And so he's like uprooting where he used to be, and now he's marching to his house. And when he gets there, it's just like kind of like retirement. You get that feeling like you leave the office to go work at home, or just go retire at home, leave a city to go visit someone else's house, or go to a new house. But this is like a lot of times too, it's just like a big goal that you really were working for forever, maybe a whole career. You finally get to go back and like you go to that big goal. Sometimes the big goal is like, I just work so hard just so I can have a good life in retirement, you know? And now maybe even like, I'm going to go leave my job in corporate world just to go home and, you know, build furniture, paint, something like that. So if you count the branches on the wands, there's 33. Just like when Jesus was 33 years old, he died on the cross, just like this guy's bearing his cross, just like Jesus carried his cross all the way up the hill as he's getting spit on and whipped and beaten. And then, so he always has like this cross to bear. And so whenever you leave a place to go somewhere else that you're meant to be, and that's better for you, kind of like you're a big fish in a small pond, and it's time for you to leave and move on to bigger, better things. There's people that have really come accustomed to like depend on you, and they don't want you to leave. So that's kind of like Jesus, no one wanted him to leave, or if you're leaving someplace, no one wants you to go. But you got to go where you really feel you belong, and it has like better opportunities, and you know, you're like a big fish in a small pond, and you got to go move on. And so when Jesus dies, he returns back home with a Father in heaven, and they become one again. And they're also the same element, the same essence. And so he kind of becomes in his own element, and he feels like I love when I'm at home, that kind of vibe. So he's like packing up all his knowledge. He's uprooting everything he's learned from his travels and his journey, that past chapter. And then now he gets to take that to the new place. And a lot of times people don't want him to leave. But he can't, you know, sacrifice his own happiness for that. Then we got 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups is like the happiest card. But it's a family celebrating life and a new life underneath the rainbow. So you know it's a new life because the husband and wife are creating with their hug, creating the letter Y. And the letter Y is Yod. And Yod is the fire in the beginning of all God's creation, at the very beginning. So they're together now creating a new life, and a new life that's getting welcomed by a rainbow. And a rainbow's only come out after a big rainstorm. So they've endured a storm in their life, and now they're delivered into a new chapter where they are like blessed with this rainbow. And they say, the bigger the storm, the brighter the rainbow. And so it's like we endured the crap, and now we feel like we earned this new thing. We finally get this house, we can have more kids, we finally have like the finances to do all this. It's like this big, like, oh, thank God, you know, I'm so glad we made it through, because it was such a hard time where we were in a bad place, and we kind of like maybe tried to kill each other or yelled at each other. There's drama. That was the storm, but we made it through, and we can kind of start fresh, start a new chapter, and we feel safe and stable and secure. There's the story of Noah's flood in the Bible, where the storm, it wasn't letting up, and so they're inside this boat, and the boat has no windows, and so they had no idea where they're at. They had no idea when it's going to stop, and they start to lose faith in Noah, and Noah's God, and they think it was all just a big mistake, and they start yelling at each other. They get cabin fever. They're going crazy in there. And there was even one of the women gets pregnant, and when Noah found out, he was going to kill the woman and her baby because they didn't have any more food to feed another child. It's like the worst time for this. And then right when he's about to stab her, that's when the rain stopped. And then they all just snapped out of it. They got delivered to the new land. They were greeted by a rainbow, and they started a whole new chapter. And so it usually is like overcoming this like huge family traumatic and dramatic experience or phase. But after that, things come out in the open. Some words were said that needed to be said. And we can now just kind of like move on. Ten of Swords. All right, Ten of Swords is a guy that has swords inside his spinal column. And the spinal column has 33 vertebrae. And so this guy is like enlightenment because he's going up all his chakra systems. And just like Jesus was 33 when he died, this guy is like Jesus. He has like like that red robe that Jesus wore when he like came back from the dead. And then he has those fingers up like this. And so you always see pictures of saints or Jesus like this. It shows how you're two parts. You're both human and you're also divine at the same time. And they usually point it up in the air so they can connect to God and their divine higher self. And so this guy, he has analyzed himself in his mind and really like looked inside the mirror, had a deep look at himself, and he starts to realize all his faults, all his sins, and he dies on the cross like Jesus, and he dies for everybody else's sins. So he's like sacrificing his sins so he can be reborn again, a new version, a new self-identity that's more down to earth. This guy like touching the earth. He's more real. He's humble. He's not fake anymore. He doesn't care about what other people think. He doesn't try to please other people. He doesn't become someone else who he's not, just so people will work with him or like him or be in a relationship with him. It's like it's enduring that dark night of the soul. And you look at yourself in the mirror, and when you get really enlightened and really high, you talk to God, and when God speaks to you, he just says, "What are you doing with your life?" He says, "What have you become?" He's like, "You are so much better than this." And then, it's like a big ego death. And then it's like, I forgot who I was, like on the inside. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow because you see how it's like the dawning of a new day. The sun comes up, pushes away the light, or pushes away the darkness. And so it's the dawning of a new day. And so that usually you go through that dark night. Sometimes that dark night lasts a long time for people. Or it's just like one crazy dream you had or something. But the next day you wake up and it's like, I'm a new version of myself. I just don't care anymore. And then you'll start to see how you get so much more positive attention because of that. I think a lot of people, when they look at you, they already know you at a certain level. So if you don't act accordingly, then you look fake. Like a comedian, when he goes up on stage, he says exactly what he looks like, what their bad stuff is, and then he even talks like how they really talk. For the most part, most of them do. There's that cable guy who does it's a whole character. That's not how he really talks. But everybody else, they usually talk like themselves. But yeah, they'll come out and tell jokes and stuff, but they know exactly, like, you can't lie. So a lot of people don't really figure that out until it's the hard way. Like, just be yourself. Ugh. Sometimes it takes a long, dark night of the soul to discover your authentic self. But because he does it at nighttime and then he wakes up a new man, that could be relevant to any kind of reading you're having. Like, when's he going to change? Tomorrow. He wake up a new guy tomorrow. All right, last one. 10 of Pentacles. This guy is a guy, the old man. He's kind of like that Moses character. But the old man is relishing in his wealth. He's relishing in what everything he created for everybody else. And he gets to sit back and say, you know what? I did this. And this is all me. But I created a lovely family with a big house, a big career and jobs for everybody, and I can leave behind this legacy that I'm very proud of. And he got all these from his ideas on his imagination world. See how his head's connected on this bridge, but then the bridge has a little the checkered wall, and the checkered wall is always like a Freemason thing, is a like good and bad, but in like you're always walking on good and bad, right? So it's like filtering out the bad ideas. So he's connected to his imagination world where his ideas originate, and then he bridges them over and manifests them in the real world. And so even inside that imagination world, there's a little clay house, and which is the potential to become this house that you see right here, the house that he can provide for his family and the generations to come. And then he just sits back and he's just so happy that he created everything for that. And he did it all for them. This card, when you look at like the zodiac wheel and how the all the pips are minor arcanas, they connect to certain zodiac combinations and conjunctions. This one is Virgo in Mercury. So Virgo signs are people that are the boss, the CEO, and they own their own business, and they do everything for their employees or for their family. And they'd love to sit back and have people come to them and go, oh my God, thank you so much. We're so grateful for you. Here's the awards. You know, he just loves having other people's lives in his hands, but to improve everybody else's lives. Like Virgos and Mercury signs, they love projects. So his project or his business, it's the business of people and creating like a whole nother world for people. And so has a big bridge. He bridges the ideas over. And then there's a Kabbalah Tree of Life on this card. And when you have all 10 like radiating, and it connects to manifestation. So it takes that idea from the mind and then you manifest it into the world. And you do it now, just like the Virgos. They have an idea and they run with it. And they always say, I'm going to think about it, or I'm going to learn as I go, and it'll get better as I go. But let me just start and I'll figure it out later. I don't overthink it. The thinking comes later, but I just want to do. And so it's like manifest. You know, it's really rare for a Virgo to come to you and say, hey, what do you think about my idea, my plan? They just do it. And then they ask you to work for them later. They're like, do you like my plan? Work for me. You know, help me manifest my plan. Then they give people jobs and make the world go around. And so so 10 of Pentacles, Kabbalah Tree of Life, manifest. And a further step of this card, it's like a map key for how to read all the tarot cards that are all the minor arcana. This is like the highest of the minor arcana. And if you read this card, it's a map key for how to read them. So you just connect to the card's number to the number of the sphere or the pentacle. Just like I taught you how the 7s are Netza, the 9s are Yasod. This card's the same. So for instance, there's the 6 pentacles right here, and it's covering the house. And so the 6 pentacle connects to the heart. And so just like the house is where the heart is. And this guy wanted to create this house and a life for his family because he had the heart. That's the whole reason he did it, for them. And that house will be there for the next generations. He really wanted a legacy for them. And also this 8th pentacle, which is Hod, which connects to Mercury in your mind. So that it's connecting to his head. It's actually touching. So he's in contact with his head, and the Mercury goes in between the 2 worlds of the imagination world, which is this with his little clay house, and then it filters over through the checkered wall, and then he bridges it over into the manifested reality, just like Virgo, who's ruled by Mercury. Another one too is the 9th one. So the 9th one is Yasod, and Yasod always unveils things that are hidden in plain sight. Kind of like all the 9 cards always has something hidden. Like there was the Hanukkah, like the menorah was there. Or you had like the Saturn return on the 9 of Wands. Even the Hermit card's a number 9, and the Hermit is Moses on Mount Sinai. But if you look close at the card, there's an evil looking grumpy Moses on the back of the Hermit. But no one really sees it. But if you're looking at it, if you know what to look at, you'll see it every single time. And then that's what Yesod is all about. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But it's always hiding right in front of your face. Just like the Hermit has the bad side on his back, where it looks like a grumpy man with his arms up, like real grumpy. And he's telling Moses just to walk away and leave those people who don't believe in you anymore. You could easily just walk away and never come back, and they wouldn't even care. That's what the grumpy's saying. So when you look at the 9, you see these little 2 dogs that you can see. But if you look at under the 9, there's a dog that's wearing the same colored robe as the old man. And then the little nose is sticking up and actually touching the 9th pentacle. And if you look down below, you can see a tail sticking up. And then you can kind of like relax your eyes. You can see a dog shape looking up and touching the 9th pentacle. So it's like a third dog. And then the old man's touching the pentacle. So he's like touching the dog. Or he's actually, but it's close enough. But that third, he's not touching the dog, but it's like right next to this dog, you see another one. Some people see it, some people don't. But again, that's the whole concept of Yesod. But once you see it, you'll never unsee it.